Is physics really a practical subject? I mean, in the real world, yes, it is. But at school, is it really? Of course, on one level, physics is a practical subject. You've only got to look at the way real physicists work in the real world to see this is true. But the exam boards, I think, are in a bit of a bind because they have to try to train physicists such as yourself probably to do physics practical, but the schools haven't got the resources to finance it properly. Therefore, we have found ourselves in this situation where sadly you now have 10 or 12 required practicals that you're supposed to do and know inside out. And I've found recently, as the years have gone by, that more and more kids, when you try and teach them in tutoring sessions about these required practicals, they haven't done them. They may have been given a YouTube video to watch, or perhaps they were off the day you did them, but they have no memory of it. Not so long ago, there was more of an emphasis on actual physical practical work, and it's a real sadness to me that we've lost this. For example, we used to do an investigation, so all lessons were stopped for a fortnight, or at least in physics, and then the students would come in and spend time designing and doing carefully their own piece of practical work about a topic that interested you. Now, some students really didn't like this, but others were really into it, and I've got loads of really good memories of students that come up with absolutely brilliant bits of practical work. I mean, really clever bits of practical work. I mean, it'd take me too long to tell you about them now, but I just got one memory of a sixth former who and his mate. They were making parachutes, and they would drive up and down the local dual carriageway, leaning out the window with these parachutes of different shapes and different bits of string on them and so on, and Newton meters measuring which would create the most force. Just brilliantly simple, but great fun to do. I think we're really poorer for having lost that side of the physics exam now. It was a really sad day when this was taken off the syllabuses, but I really get why it was. Paper 3 now is a really difficult thing. I have so many students who say they just don't get what they're being asked. But it would be so much better if we reintroduced the idea of little stations. Back in the day, teachers would set up a circus of practical experiments, each one lasting 7 or 8 minutes, something like that, and students would come in under exam conditions and go round and actually perform bits of practical work. That was paper 3. That was real practical work. That's what it should be like now. Paper 3 is now a sad reflection of what it used to be. I worked in an exam board. I know how much care goes into making exams. However, the exam boards are so bound up with this practical topic that they try to describe practicals, and it's incredibly difficult to do. This makes much more sense to invest properly in this stuff and give the students actual exam-based practical work to do. At least that's how it seems to me. But I'd love to know what you think as students, or maybe even as teachers. I really think we're in a sad place now with practical exams in physics. It's not the exam board's fault. I'm not knocking them. It's just the way, things are at the moment. And I just think it's sad. And I think you guys get a short straw when it comes to practical work. So let me know what you think. Do you agree? Am I talking absolute rubbish? Have you got happy experiences with practical work in your school in physics? I'd love to know what your stories are.